It was 2:17 a.m. when I realized someone had been living in the basement of the pharmacy where I worked. I'd been the overnight pharmacist at Riverside Drugs for 8 months. The job was simple: fill prescriptions, manage inventory, handle the occasional late-night customer. I worked alone from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 4 nights a week. The building was old, built in the 1960s, with that institutional smell of antiseptic and ancient carpet that never quite goes away. The basement was where we kept overstock and old records. I went down there maybe once a week, usually to grab extra bottles of common medications. The stairs creaked, the fluorescent lights flickered, and it always felt 10 degrees colder than the rest of the building. I didn't like it, but I'd never been afraid of it. That changed 3 weeks ago. I was restocking ibuprofen when I noticed we were running low. I checked the computer, plenty in basement storage. I grabbed my keys, unlocked the basement door, and started down the stairs. Halfway down, I stopped. There was a smell. Not the usual mustiness, but something else. Something living. I told myself it was probably mice. Old buildings have mice. I continued down, flipped on the lights, and walked to the pharmaceutical section in the back. That's when I saw it, a blanket. A gray fleece blanket folded neatly on top of a box of paper towels. It hadn't been there the week before. My heart started pounding. I looked around slowly. The basement was a maze of metal shelving units, boxes stacked floor to ceiling, old filing cabinets creating blind corners everywhere. Anyone could be watching me right then, and I wouldn't know. I grabbed what I needed and went back upstairs, moving faster than I wanted to admit. I locked the basement door behind me and stood there in the hallway, trying to rationalize what I'd seen. Maybe a delivery driver took a break. Maybe the day shift pharmacist had been organizing and brought it down for some reason. But I didn't go back down for the rest of my shift. 2 nights later, I had to return. We'd run completely out of prescription bottles. I stood at the basement door for a full minute before unlocking it. This time, I called down the stairs first. "Hello? Anyone down there?" My voice sounded thin and ridiculous. Silence. I went down slowly, listening to every creak of the old wooden stairs. When I reached the bottom, I noticed immediately, the blanket was gone. In its place, on the same box, was an empty water bottle and a granola bar wrapper. Someone was definitely coming down here. But why? And when? I looked at the small window near the ceiling, the only source of natural light. It was at ground level outside, secured with bars. No one was getting in that way. Which meant whoever this was had a key, or was coming in through the main entrance. I grabbed the bottles I needed and left. Upstairs, I checked the security footage. Our system was old, and we only had cameras at the front entrance, the register, and the pharmacy counter. Nothing in the basement. Nothing at the back door. I scrolled through the previous week of footage during overnight hours. Just me, alone, for every shift. The next night, I did something I'm not proud of. I brought my phone down to the basement and hid it behind a box, camera facing the area where I'd found the blanket. I set it to record and left it there for my entire shift. When I retrieved it at 5 a.m., my hands were shaking as I scrubbed through the footage. For 3 hours, nothing. Then at 3:34 a.m., movement. A man emerged from behind a shelving unit in the far corner, an area I'd never had reason to go to. He was maybe 40, wearing a dark jacket and a knit cap. He moved quietly, confidently, like he knew exactly where he was. He sat down on the floor, pulled out a small camping stove from a backpack, and heated something in a pot. He ate slowly, checking his watch periodically. After 20 minutes, he packed everything up, moved back to his corner, and disappeared behind the shelves. He'd been there the entire time I'd been working upstairs. I should have called the police right then. But something stopped me. The way he moved, the way he ate, he didn't seem dangerous. He seemed tired. Careful. Like someone who'd run out of options. I made a decision that probably sounds insane. The next night, I left a sandwich and a bottle of water on top of that same box, with a note written on pharmacy notepaper: "You can't stay here. But I won't call the police if you leave quietly." My shift that night was the longest of my life. Every sound made me jump. I kept thinking about what I'd do if he came upstairs, if he was angry, if I'd made a horrible mistake. At 5 a.m., I went down to check. The food was gone. In its place was a note written in careful handwriting: "Thank you. I'm sorry. One more week, then I'm gone. I promise. One more week." I could have ended it there. Should have. But I didn't. For 6 more nights, I left food. Every morning, there was a note. Short messages: "You're kind, God bless you, almost there." He told me through these notes that he'd lost his job, his apartment, that he had an interview lined up and just needed to stay clean and safe until then. On the 7th night, I left the usual supplies, plus an extra $50 in an envelope. I wrote, "Good luck. Don't come back." The next morning, there was a final note: "I got the job. I start Monday. You saved my life. I'll never forget this." That was 3 weeks ago. Last night, I went down to the basement to restock. I walked to his corner for the first time, the place where he'd been hiding. Behind the shelving unit was a small cleared space, just big enough for a sleeping bag. It was empty now, cleaned up, but taped to the wall was a photograph. It showed a man, the same man from my video, standing with a young girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old. They were smiling at the beach, sun setting behind them. On the back, written in that same careful handwriting: "My daughter, Emma. Haven't seen her in 2 years. Soon." I took the photo down, and beneath it was something else. A small news clipping, yellow with age, taped to the concrete wall. The headline read: "Local man sought in connection with domestic dispute, considered dangerous." The photo showed the same man, but younger. The article was dated 4 months ago. I stood there in the cold basement, holding that beach photo, reading and rereading that clipping. The article said he'd violated a restraining order. That his ex-wife had called police after he'd shown up at their home at 2 a.m., trying to see his daughter. That he'd fled before officers arrived. I don't know what the truth is. I don't know if he was a desperate father or something worse. I don't know if that job interview was real, or if that was just what he needed me to believe so I'd keep helping him. What I do know is this: for 7 nights, I was alone in a building with a stranger living in the basement. A stranger I was feeding. A stranger the police were looking for. And the thing that keeps me awake now isn't wondering where he is. It's wondering if he's coming back. If this story left you unsettled, subscribe for more chilling tales from the edge of reality. New stories every week that will make you question what's lurking in the shadows of everyday life.